Thank you for joining us for Open Line tonight. We are talking about gun violence in our communities and ways to bring an end to it. And thank goodness for folks like Earl Jordan, who started Partners in the Struggle almost 20 years ago now. And you have an event coming up on Christmas Eve. Can you tell us about that?
Well, we're doing what we're calling the balloon release for our loved ones of gun violence. And we just want any and every family who's had a loved one murdered due to gun violence to come out, release the balloons. We won't be that long. We're going to start at the Greenwood Cemetery. You have two locations. One is at 820 M Hill Pike. We're going to start there. All of our participants who are there, we're going to walk to the grave sites as a group. We're going to release. And then we're going to go to the second location, which is on 1428 M Hill Pike, and do the same concept. Just want to do this, a day before Christmas and just get our families out. I'm hoping Elder Gasaway can pray for our families, as we release the balloons. I think this would be very, very good for the families to let them know that, hey, we are with them. Our loved ones, are with us in our heart and spirit. And it's just something we want to do, and we're not going to be too long. We'll start at 8:30 in the morning this Saturday on Christmas Eve, and want all the families to come out and participate.
I imagine Christmas is such a tough time, and you all can speak to this, Talia and John, because there's an empty seat at the dinner table, and there's one less person around that Christmas tree, and it just has to really be especially poignant and pointed out during these days.
Right.
Is that how?
Oh yeah. Holidays, even though, like you say, you try to put it out of your mind. It's just something about holidays that brings back a lot of memories, because you build memories during the holidays. I can remember a few years ago, we got a camcorder, and my son was playing with it, and we found some of the video, and you build memories. We love taking pictures, and so those are the times you get together with your family and you're doing certain things, and I think that's the reason why they hurt so much. You don't even have to think about it, but it's there.
It's in your heart.
Sometimes it's just it'll hit you just like that, just during the time, and you know it's the time, you know what's going on, and it'll just hit you just like that.
Yeah, or imagine that favorite casserole you make and you say,
oh yeah,
this was his.
Right. Yeah, my aunt makes chocolate pies and he loves them. I mean, he would eat a whole when his grandmother made them chocolate pies, and he would eat them by himself. So just it's the small things that you remember. All the things that you would do at Christmas time. The Lord knows all the eating we would do. But even just as being silly, we real silly family, and those times is always what you're thinking about. We can gather around now, and it's like sometimes you're thinking in the back of your mind, oh, I know he would say this, or I know he would do that, and you'll laugh to yourself, and sometimes it's hurtful. You just want to sit in a corner, away from people for a little while,
Have your own moment, absolutely. Earl, what else can just us regular folks who maybe have never been touched by gun violence do to make a difference? Because it is going to take all of us in all parts of this community.
Well, whatever God put in your heart to do, and I can't tell nobody individually what to do, but you can always, I say it all the time, you can always adopt a kid. I don't mean like literally as a asshole, but we have so many kids and I'm speaking of youth, because they are the ones that are being pulled in. I mean, there's so many things that anyone can do, even here at News Channel 5, just having a youth day. This is like some of these kids from the neighborhoods come down and see how Kerry Sharp runs the 6 o'clock news. You never know, we might have some little girl or some young man that might want to be next Liam Statham. We don't know. We don't know. But if we can create that energy versus the energy that they see that's not good, we're gonna save that child. But that's what we got to do. It can be done. It can be done from the smallest person to the tallest person. My thing of it is that I just love the kids. So in my schoolhouse, I don't miss no days. I try not to miss. If I'm sick, I try to go, because I know they looking for Mr. Earl. They looking for that jersey. They looking for that hat. Where Mr. Earl at? Smell my cologne somewhere. They trying to find me, because even in their darkest time when they're cursing and being, not so right, I can always come up to them and tap them like that and get yourself together. Okay, Mr. Earl, in a couple hours, I'm come back and check on them. And thank Mr. Earl, thank you, come check on them. They just want that extra, And that's what we can do. Yeah. That's what we can do, everybody. So create whatever you can in your heart And let's go out and say these kids, let's go out here and make sure that another kid is not gunned down by another youth. And let's make sure whatever we can do to make sure this kid don't pick this gun up and commit any type of violence where he is working himself towards, you know, the penitentiary. We don't want that.
Do you think many kids that you talk to in the schools have a realistic perspective of what happens when you play around with guns, when you shoot someone, when you use this gun as an answer? Do they get it?
They do and they don't, because, you know, this is the world that they're living in. So I'm saying they do, but then they don't. And then it depends on where that child is, and I'm speaking of age level. You know, you have kids who may know where mom and dad or uncle's gun is and may just be playing with it because they seen the episode of Empire. And that gun pop off, or bullets in the chamber and pop off, and they kill themselves. You know, so education is very, very, you know, key to our kids on all these levels, making sure that they don't. If you see a gun, you run that way. You know, and parents, if you have guns, have gun locks.
Yes.
You know, safety.
We've seen way too many murders.
Exactly. You know, accidental shootings. Excuse me. So, you know, they know. They know, but then it's too late once they're isolated. And I'm gonna say this real quick, and I'm gonna pass the baton. You know, I tell my kids at school, you know, appreciate the freedom that you have. Because I'm telling you, you know, you won't know what freedom is until they take that freedom away from you. And when somebody is telling you what to do, I'm able to go home and confines my home and relax. And I want you to do the same. But when you get in trouble, somebody that's gonna be telling you when to get up, the whole nine. And then you're gonna be in this area that you may not be psychologically aware of, that's not home anymore, if that makes sense. You know, and that's deep.
Yeah.
And I try to put it to them like that. And hopefully they'll get it.
Have you all received any apologies from your son's killers?
No.
No.
And that's troublesome.
And you've waited 20 years,
yeah,
right?
And that's troublesome.
Is your son's killer still behind bars?
No, he's out now.
He's out. Just got out, right?
Yeah.
Recently.
A couple of years ago, they gave him 20 years without parole. And so I didn't even follow up on whether he got out or not. Really didn't want
Sure.
to rehash it in my mind. I just forgetting those things that are behind.
And you were saying, I can't remember if we were on air or not, but that at the sentencing, he wouldn't even look you in the eye.
None of his, and it was a woman there. She never said anything. So leaving the courthouse, I asked her, was she a relative of his? You know, and my wife and John, don't, because I was still,
Sure.
you know. I said, at least if my child had done something that horrible, I'd have been at your door. I'd have been barbecuing ribs and bringing you some green beans and turnip greens or something, trying to apologize.
Sure.
You know, not only did he lose his life, but that boy got 20 years. You know,
lost his.
and so we don't have much love. We don't care. And like I said, the phone been jumping off the hook, and nobody has called. Well, I want anybody to experience what I've been through, you know, because it never, you deal with it, life goes on, but it never goes away.
Right.
And each child has a distinct aroma. They got a you know how an animal can determine their kittens and puppers and all. Your children are that way.
I know, yeah.
And I long, God knows I long just to smell it.
Yeah.
I hope that doesn't sound crazy.
No, you just hit me in my heart. I have 2 little boys, and I do that all the time. Like, just come here, let me smell you.
Yes.
You're so right. They do. They have their own little smell, and that's
And
yeah,
when
you
you
know
can't
as
do
a
that
parent.
anymore, you know, when it's cut off, like that, it's I you know, kept a lot of his clothes, and I tried to get it, and sometimes I could, and sometimes I couldn't, you know, and so that hurts so when you can't, you know, you can't. I smell his head. You know,
Yeah. No, I understand.
just meant so much to me, you know, to be able to do that. And when somebody takes that from you, you know, what do you do?
Blink of an eye.
Because that other child doesn't have that same.
Right.
Right. And it's a good flavor, man. It's a woo. And like I said, I hope nobody ever has to experience.
And we're going to leave it right at that for once. I think that'll hit everybody. We'll be right back.
Okay.